Hey there, this is Jamie Russo. I am the CEO of Everything Coworking and the host of the podcast with the same name. I help coworking operators and community managers start and run coworking spaces that attract and retain their best members. So the podcast this week is all about planning ahead for 2021. And you've probably heard me talk about the Design to Thrive in 2021 workshop that I am hosting starting next week, November 12th. And so planning for 2021 is really a theme that is pervasive in my thinking and planning right now. And I just keep thinking about why it's so critical and how to communicate that. So on the podcast, I shared the 9-step framework that we're going to go through to plan for 2021, which I think is helpful. If you want to do the planning yourself, you can use that framework, or you can do it along with us, which is my preferred choice. I will put the link to the workshop in the comments below this video. But the critical concept, I think, is really thinking about why planning is so critical and what it can do for your business. So whether times are good or times are challenging, there are things that we always need to be doing. And I think that when we don't plan, what we do is we approach every new month as being new and fresh, right? So especially if we have an entrepreneurial bend, so you may just be a business owner and not be distracted by shiny objects. But if you are, and you look at each month as being sort of brand new, or even each week, and you don't have a plan that you're following, then you're not likely to be consistent in your actions. And consistency is what allows us to see what works, because nothing works when we do it one time, right? Things work when we do them repeatedly over time, and we can measure them and we can adjust them. So SEO. You get to the end of the year and you say, SEO doesn't work for me. It doesn't get leads for me. Well, how many blog posts did you do this year? 2. 2 is not going to move the needle, right? You need to do them consistently every week, every 2 weeks, and your SEO juice will build over time. But you cannot judge something that you did inconsistently sometimes over a year. Or digital marketing, paid digital marketing. Google Ads don't work for my business. Well, how long did you test them for? A month. Okay, that's not long enough. As a matter of fact, if you outsource your ads, most agencies will require that you commit to 3 months because they know they can't move the needle in a month. It takes time. Member retention. We struggle with member retention. Well, how often do you do member events? Well, sometimes we do them. Once a month, once every other month, every week. I want you to do a member event. It can be simple, but it needs to be intentional. And so when we don't plan ahead, then we see new ideas, we see what other operators are doing. We're looking externally for ways to move our business forward, and we're likely not being consistent with the actions that actually drive our business. And here's the thing about running any small business, and including a co-working space. It's not the crazy, wild, interesting ideas that make the difference. It is the very basics that you do consistently over time. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure out exactly what those are for your business. So I think in 2021, the big lift is who are going to be your best members given the shift in what's happening in the world, and how do you find them? So who's your best member, and testing that, doing some things consistently and tweaking some things so you can see who you draw in, and then marketing consistently so that you can test what works. Is it Google Ads? Is it Facebook ads? Is it your newsletter? Is it, or is it the combination of being super consistent with all the basics? And I said this on the podcast, how many of you all through COVID for like 6 months didn't touch your Google My Business listing, didn't write a blog post, didn't host a member event? Maybe you did some of those, but not all of them. So this is one of the things about having a plan. You make the plan, you stick to the plan. There are things that you pivot on or shift based on external forces like we had this year. But there are basics that you should be doing absolutely no matter what, because now those of us who dropped the ball and didn't do those things look back and they say, oh, we only got 2 new Google reviews this year. We only wrote 2 blog posts. We had our digital marketing running for 3 months. We weren't consistent. We don't actually know based on data what drives our business so that we can repeat it and add to that this year. So planning ahead makes us stay focused, and ideally you schedule in all of those basics. So your team marks out time to do the newsletter, to do the Google My Business post, to do the SEO, to do the social media. And if you can't do those things in-house, then at the beginning of the year, you outsource that. And that's a project in itself. This is the other reason why we plan. We're totally overconfident about how long any given thing takes us to do, right? We think if we want to do something in May, then we do it in May. You don't do it in May. You have to start planning for it probably in February, and there are a bunch of little steps leading up to that. So if you don't lay out your calendar with your priorities and your projects, you're not going to get the results that you need to get. So it's super critical. It doesn't matter if you don't think you have a mind-bending idea for 2021. We have some creative ideas that we're going to share in the workshop. But really, the thing that I want you to do is lay out your year and lay out the activities that you and your team and your outsourced team are going to do to be super consistent every single week to drive your business so that you can test and you know what works. And then next year you might say, we're going to amplify that. We know what works. We're going to do more of it. So I hope you'll join me for the workshop. I'm going to put the link below, but if not, please schedule some planning time for yourself and with your team for 2021.